Guys, crush it.
Oh, reunited, and it feels so good, brother. We are back at it once again. Doggy, it feels good to be out here with you, my friend, as we start up the banning phase.
Yes, sir. Good to be back. Good to see honestly the last game too of the group stages. It's exciting to get back to it, right? And the fact this preseason has been so action packed, and immediately off the rip, we get to see the difference of opinion and between NTMR and TSM going for the traditional, get that one-sided Elsa mismatch, and then for TSM getting that Gambit removed already. Like, Shib, what do you think for TSM's matchup into NTMR? We've seen how good Visions has been on Elsa, but avoiding it sometimes is okay, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm actually curious to see, and it's very dependent on players, but I'm curious to see the numbers as to when Gambit's banned in comparison to Elsa, when it's a mismatch on either side with where it lies. But yeah, I think Gambit has been just of utmost importance, especially in this or at least in yesterday. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what that number looks like right now. The lock-in of Gambit, obviously, on the side of TSM, feeling comfortable there. And then, you have to do it. Remove the Rogue. It's too strong with that team up.
Yeah, it makes sense for, I think Guru's the type of guy to play a lot of that stuff too. Maybe even Gilbert. I mean, he's been so flexible, but we immediately have the Vanpool on the opposite side ban. But it is kind of interesting, Shib. Like, I feel like when you go for that Elsa ban and Protect, you kind of open yourself up to maybe more diversity in terms of what the enemy can play. Whereas if you go for that Gambit ban and Protect, like, we know that you probably have to ban the Rogue. Now, the interesting thing is, Shib, and I'm curious your take, as we have the one-sided Vanpool come through. The Star-Lord, okay, they're hovering it right now, but I wanted to see what you thought about it, because I'm kind of falling out of the camp of perma-ban Star-Lord into the Gambit stuff. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad combination. We've seen teams try to run the Punisher without as much success. But, I think one point that you made that I think is definitely worth reiterating is when you do get the Gambit through, Loki now has to be a priority ban. Same with Rogue. And that really does just make your bans far more traditional instead of just team-based. And I think the teams that are finding the most success in this tournament now are now target banning specifically against the enemy team and not just blanket banning, which I think we might be seeing a little bit here from NTMR.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because like when we saw the FlyQuest game yesterday, I mean, you can't let Vest get Rogue generally. Yeah. And look at that, they're eliminated now because of it. So going into it, like you mentioned, the ban's a bit more traditional for NTMR's side. TSM probably a bit more specific, but this will be a little bit of an interesting matchup because Light gets to finally play that Daredevil. Visions gets to play as Elsa. And I don't know, it's going to be a good matchup on Celestial Husk, a very fun game one of the day, Shib, considering, both these teams, I think you and Gas set it up perfectly. It's just like, win and you're in for TSM. For NTMR, they still have to rely on Lunex and stuff. But this match is probably the biggest of the tournament for both teams.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line here. We can see what they are floating. TSM is running that triple comp that I thought personally was one of their best comps they've run in the tournament. They elected to not really try to make it happen yesterday, keeping it more traditional. I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like into NTMR. And for NTMR's side, that Emma has definitely taken a step up as we see the emote here from Guru. Gotta love that. But definitely taking a step up in terms of finding wins and value. I think he struggled a little bit early on in the preseason. So we'll see what that looks like now from the side of Mason. Monster on that Cap. We know how strong Cap is.
Yeah, Cap's been super good. I know that you probably got a little bit of flack on your TikToks when you're posting about Cap. Is actually quite good right now, and people are like, no way, he's bad. He's got lost his animation canceled. But as you pointed out, Cap is even stronger this patch than previous ones, right?
Yeah, especially at this level of play. I think it's, the animation cancel is definitely a fun thing to play with, but just the raw damage of having that extra damage on every auto without having to set up your melee shield throws. It just gives you the will and the ability to take out backline at any time instead of forced setup. So we're going to see what the team looks like here. Cal is going to be on the side of the Gambit. And we begin now. Gale, immediately, are you kidding me? Able to find Mace. One number up here for TSM, walking right through and showing why the Golk is such a threat. 65 HP, though, dangerous, and I do believe gets knocked out there. Back to Bruce Banner form. So the trade comes through, but Pizza says not up in here. Goodbye to Light. And they are once again up a number, traded back from Vision, though. And now they're even once again, at least for now, while you see Gale trying to build back into that Hulk form.
Yeah, Mace comes back with Portal, but it's too late. TSM's claimed the point. But this is kind of traditional so far. We've seen some from TSM. It was a good bubble from Guru from him to block off the healing, but Vision still gets to go ham. I mean, Vision's just getting KO after KO, still free to get full impact, by the way. So he's at that tier 3 Elsa form that Shiv is terrifying to play against.
Yeah, Elsa in such a good state right now, even with that HP nerf from the last patch, 25 HP being removed there. Making some of those breakpoints more viable, but we can see now, Nightmare, that portal play actually really did work from Mace. I thought it might have been premature after the take of point there from TSM, but it really did buy them the space to be able to take that right back. And now they're going to be up 28% to 12, which would have been the fastest turnaround in terms of point capture we've seen yet. Vision in an off angle already has the Glartrox available. Keep your eye out for that Apex Predator. Light on the back line, ready to engage on a Guru, who's in a dangerous spot now, drops backwards towards the team. Out goes the boundary that's committed. Clobbering time goes out from Gilbert. Does that seem to get value? Not quite enough inside of that boundary, as now the boundary gets launched right back to the side of TSM.
Yeah, they were anti-2 Mace with the Eye of Agamotto. I mean, we've seen big eyes before, and it is enough to get rid of BTS. Again, removing him. But Gale, you mentioned the Gulk before. Unfortunately, not able to get much done after the Strat ults are committed, and they just get walked on here, Shib. So great work from Nightmare. They commit even more ultimates after the fact, but it's kind of like it goes back down to the thing is they delay Gale's Hulk. You know, so many Strat ults pretty much with the Captain American stuff, right?
Yeah, and he's going to have to jump off point at this point. That's brutal. That's a really good stagger that they're forcing here, and that's the downside to playing Bruce on a map like this, where they can stall you with some of the CC from their side of Skier, obviously, with the force physics, right? So ult advantage is going to be slightly in the favor of TSM, but Nightmare are looking really good on domination, as is tradition at this point. A little bit of overcommitment on ultimates. Monster able to find BTS off the rip, and that was a huge target, as BTS almost had ult available. What a play, as now Guru goes down, and Monster stepping up in this moment.
Oh, that was brutal. I mean, just stagger pick after stagger pick. I don't think I've seen BTS alive longer more than a few seconds. It's been a really hard game so far, as Monster's been able to do whatever he wants. Nightmare capped the map. Excellent work on round one. And Chip, just to kind of analyze everything there, I'm curious what you think, but because they're running the Rocket Raccoon and stuff, we've seen a lot more Phoenix. Do you think that could be a viable switch up for TSM, or maybe it goes back to the thing where they got spawn camped by, we lost yesterday? It looks like all confidence is removed from this team.
Yeah, I agree. I think TSM just didn't look like themselves there at all. But also on the other side of the token, I think Nightmare looked really solid. I saw a lot of good flanking avenues. I think that map lends itself to being a very flankable map, and Light was consistently in the back line. You see there 6-1, taking maybe some of those comments personally, trying to bounce back quickly. We honestly haven't seen a lot of Rocket in this tournament. Honestly, one of the first full showings of Rocket in a map. And I think it's not a bad idea. I agree Phoenix is a good counter, right, if that wanted to come into play. The BRB is massive, but Rocket does a good job in staying healthy when there's dive on the line, just kind of playing his own life. And I think they're kind of using that to this advantage, but there really wasn't enough pressure to even get on top of the Rocket.
No, you're right. Yeah, that's a lot of difference that Nightmare has put in terms of the play style today. But coming into it, Shib, right, TSM do have that Psylocke ultimate, nothing to counter it in terms of straddles on the opposite side. They go for that fast portal too on the flank.
Yeah, and let the games begin here as Guru starts a portal play. This is very traditional for TSM, usually trying to find some sort of crazy pick or kidnap potential. And they are starting heavy, but escapes right there in that moment. Vision in a dangerous spot. Gale just jumps right over, unluckily, but is still able to find Mace. There goes a dance of the Cutterfly walking in. The Glartrox now gets launched. Oh, but walks back into it, thinking the bubble was still there, but it was not. Guru goes down now as Vision finds one.
I mean, this is crazy. How are they not getting more out of the Psylocke ult and stuff? Regardless, point almost capped. They do commit the Raging Royal Flush too, but it's met by Invisible Boundary. And Nightmare, they're still touching the point. Eventually, Gilbert's going to fall on the side of TSM as well. So they have to give up so much space. Pop a late Invisible Boundary, but can they even live through it? The point's still going to get delayed out. The Gulk ultimate's out.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the boundary. I think it was to just stall, as they do now have one and end up working out in the end here. Light on the chase. On the side of BTS, was able to find that health pack, try to turn this around, but Lights is not up in here, able to find BTS now, heading back to point. Goodbye to Gulk, who should be out of at least monster form for the moment, so is able to hold on, but that's a retake again from Nightmare after just a couple percentage points on TSM.
I mean, if I'm a TSM fan, I'm just glad that BTS finally switched to Phoenix. I mean, he was doing nothing on Psylocke, and I don't think it's really, player issue. It's more that Psylocke, especially with the Mantis against the Daredevil, is just such a one-sided matchup. But immediately Guru starts off with the ultimate as TSM look to reclaim some point and maybe try to counter this Rocket Raccoon.
Yeah, I think they're kind of, Nightmare's playing their, play your own life composition. It makes it very difficult to dive with a solo dive like Psylocke trying to make plays. Vision's able to find BTS in that trade early on. Pizza Demon in a low position as Mace now gets one. Monster onto Cal, and Nightmare have stepped up after yesterday and look incredibly clean with 42% and climbing on the point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been pretty one-sided thus far. Ultimate's coming up, at least for TSM's side. The next one, delaying Gulk again. That's the second time in a row. Pulled back by Light, and then Skier, too. So, adding insult to injury. He gets back into the Hulk form. No way. If he gets delayed again, though.
Oh, wow.
Goes away. Wait, the Lord Trucks, though! Oh, my goodness! On the right side, they all came back for Gale to save him, but unfortunately, they get wiped.
That was dirty. Wow, what a play there from Skier and Vision with some insane comms, finding virtually the entire team in that suite of ultimate. Skier not even forced to use that boundary. Nightmare looks refreshed right now. They've taken some of these losses personally, and they want to make it to the next stage, and they're looking like they have a chance here. TSM's got to find their footing, because right now they're looking lost.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been pretty brutal so far. I mean, they started with the game at Raging Wolf Rush, but Nightmare has reacted perfectly so far. Gale's already out of the Hulk form, too.
Yeah, and more value to that BRB. Dink's able to bring Light back after a utilization of ultimate from the Van Pool. So that pick gets no value, and they're back on point. Gale goes down. The boundary stays up here for the side of TSM. Gilbert now making the switch to Venom, which I think is a smart play, at least for the stall on point, and pretty aggro towards that back line. Monster doing a great job just distracting the back line. Guru able to find Light once more. Numbers up for TSM. Can they take this back? But 99% is a big hill to climb as Bedtime and Guru go down. Nightmare trying to stop this right now. A portal play needs to be committed here for TSM.
And Pizza just gets walked on by Mace. Cow just watches his teammate die. Gilbert trades Skier at the very least, but you talked about a monster and Mace finding two. Gilbert to delay, waiting for that portal play, but they still have ultimates afterwards, Shiv. I mean, BTS is over to that Daredevil as well. It just feels like he's not done anything on this map.
Yeah, and that's a huge pick there from Mace on a Bedtime story, trying to get back on a point. Alco some commitment of the Sia and Light with the Let the Devil out. Overtime ticking down. Nightmare finds two from Vision, and they might be able to win this decidedly. 100% to 9. Are you kidding me, Nightmare?
Yeah, he got CC'd at the end, so Gale would not touch in the ultimate anymore, and that was beautiful so far from Nightmare. Map wins. Celestial Husk goes their way in this best out of 3 when it matters most, like you said. But if we're taking a look at, how this team has performed on Domination, Shib, this is their best map type by far. It's when we go to Convoy, when we go to Convergence, that I'm a little bit worried. Now, TSM, I mean, especially if Vision's going to pop off like he did in that series, I'm going to be always worried for TSM. But regardless, this is the best case scenario for Nightmare. They're always really solid on Domination. It's just when we go to Convoy Convergence that I have a little bit of questions. For TSM, I just really am wondering, based on what we saw yesterday, Shib, I wonder if their confidence is even there, dude, because, I mean, BTS didn't even get a single final hit, and I don't want it to stat watch, obviously, because it's not just on him, and especially since it's not their best map type. But this looks like a team that is a shell of their former selves, and, I'm wondering if they can bounce back after next match. But we will see in just a moment after we go to this break. We'll see you guys for map number 2.
Welcome back, everyone, to Marvel Rivals Ignite. It's preseason, and boy, oh boy, do we have a game on our hands here. TSM on the brink of elimination. Remember, if they lose this matchup, they're done, because that would mean either Nightmare or Lunex would be able to progress through this group into playoffs. I mean, domination, we've always known Nightmare is strong at it, Dog, but this puts them at such an advantage now going into maps 2 and maybe 3.
Absolutely, and they look to, despite everything that's happened, to be maintaining their sort of mental, right? And that's what we talk about a lot. It's a mental game because it is esports at the end of the day. And, I think that for TSM, I mean, just a brutal match overall, and I really want to see them rebound on Central Park because that's their map pick. We've seen them play here yesterday, too. But, Shib, I'm getting a little bit of flashbacks to potentially not the best game versus, we lost.
Yeah, they had a really solid point take and then just got stuffed before the streets phase even began. They could not get them Ratatasker actually moving forward at all, the cart there. So it was just quite a tough look. And you know what? They just got to forget about it. But their backs are truly against the wall. They need to step up. Both teams need to step up. Huge advantage for Nightmare is they will have map 3 should it go there in their favor in terms of their map choice. But TSM did not look like TSM in that domination at all.
No, not at all. And I think now the concern for me is, with your back against the wall, with the pressure on, how suddenly do you deal with it? The only advantage I think that TSM have here, Dog, is the fact that we've seen Nightmare in this position 3 times, and they've gone on to lose the entire match. So I think that TSM can definitely go off of that. But you know these players far better than I do. Do you think TSM will be feeling the pressure here now, knowing they are just 1 map away from being out of this competition?
I think so. I mean, the only thought that comes to my head is I hope they still care, Like, at the end of the day, like, a lot of people know these guys are content creators are coming in. They're very good, very high-level esport players, too. This team is, historically good. Like, back when they were Solaris, I think they've always competed at a high level. Just, I wonder how they're feeling because, like, it's a similar situation to what you said about Nightmare, where, you have to kind of bounce back. You have to have that resilience. But at the moment, based on how the last map looked, I wouldn't say so. Regardless, I feel like the TSM of old, the old Solaris team that I think would bounce back, would play weird stuff. They would do things like Namor, Hella if they want to at points. But the current version of TSM is in this weird sort of space where they'll play anything. Now, it's kind of like back on the original point that you said, Gask, like Nightmare's a team that plays down to their competition a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is a close map because of it.
Yeah, certainly expecting a closer game now, and I hope it's going to be a closer game. Maybe we go to the full 3 maps, but that means map 2 is ready. It's locked and loaded. Ship, Doc, take us away.
All right, let's get back into it. And I'll tell you what, the composition from Nightmare was very difficult to try to find a priority target on. So they ended up turning it a little bit there and trying to find light, and did a few times, but it's much more difficult to play a self-survivable comp on defense in something like Convergence, because you are just going to target who's on point, and that will kind of be the mentality of the team. It kind of does shake up what they want to do here for Nightmare. So we'll see what that looks like. On attack, it's a different story. Definitely can still run that, but it struggles a bit on defense. But off the rip, Nightmare will be attacking.
Okay, well, they immediately go for that Elsa ban off the rip due to, Visions was popping the hell off last map. It was kind of like what we saw out of every match so far, but this time they actually won in those incredible stat lines from Visions. That results in the Gambit Protect coming out of Nightmare's side and the Loki ban on the opposite spectrum. But, that probably means the Gambit Protects come through, and Shib, we might have ourselves a mirror Gambit composition for both teams.
Yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea. It was a big problem with some huge ultimates in the last go-around. I like the comp they were trying to run, but it really did struggle into a mean Elsa. So goodbye there from the side of Vision, who's now floating, at least for now, the DD. And we're going to see the lock-in of Gambit, which means immediately they will remove that rogue, likely on both sides if they're feeling like the team can run it. But again, it's not necessarily Fly. They don't have Vest, so they might decide it's not as much of a threat to them.
Yeah, I think there was another aspect of it was putting light on the Daredevil. TSM get that Protect for bedtime story Star-Lord, at least with the Gambit. Since that was banned out in the last map, that makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. I think that is a good pickup. That is a good change considering Light on the Daredevil looked very comfortable. I think he was kind of doing pretty much everything in terms of countering what BTS was doing on Psylocke. So that enabled them a lot, but now they get the Star-Lord at the very least. That's going to allow the Vanpool band to come out on the opposite side, as it looks like we have a bit of a pause going on in the band phase due to what I assume to be online technical difficulties as it happens.
Yeah, it does happen like that, as we will welcome Gaskin back in. Buddy, yeah, I think a big takeaway there so far is the fact that we will see BTS on the Star-Lord, which I do think will help a lot with that Gambit combination. What do you think of the role in the band so far, buddy?
Yeah, it's pretty much traditional, what we've been expecting, what we've seen for the last 2 days, really. You keep Gambit if you can. You get rid of Elsa where you can as well. It depends. And as long as Loki doesn't get through, you shouldn't see any shenanigans. I think Bedtime Story on the Star-Lord, very important. We saw how incredible Bedtime Story can play when that Star-Lord gets activated, especially with the backup of the Raging Royal Flush. A real question for me is like where you go here. I wonder if this is like a tech pause or whether this is a tactical pause from Nightmare, perhaps trying to really figure out how they want to go with these bans. Because now that you've seen the Star-Lord protected and you've already got rid of the Rogue, that would be my question, Dog, is where you even go from here.
Yeah, I think that we probably just try to ban out some of the things that were a problem in the last map, and well, really also what was a problem for us against the other teams too. So because we go for that, Star-Lord Protect on the opposite side for Nightmare, maybe it's go into another duelist as well, since they went towards that Daredevil. But since they don't have a Daredevil on TSM's side, really, I mean, BTS and Cal really haven't played it. We could even prioritize more Vanguards again. Like maybe if we're gonna play more divey stuff again, make sure they don't get the Emma even. I know we haven't seen any bans over to that, or we know that Gale loves to play that Hulk. Maybe we ban out that, although that wasn't really an issue for us and a problem to deal with. So there's a lot of options, and I think because of the last map and how it went, because of what we saw TSM's ban phase sort of phase into, I imagine Nightmare, really any option they pick is going to be a good one, and it's just up to the overall team play at this point, because I don't think they've had a bad draft so far.
And it surprises me a little bit that we're seeing Mantis just go unscathed as well, considering some of the players have been saying like how important Mantis can be to those compositions. Do you think that's more of a team situation here, that TSM and Nightmare aren't really into playing Trip Strat, for example, Shib?
Yeah, I think that's definitely on the table. I'm surprised about that because we have seen Gale run a strong Mantis in the past. I'm curious why maybe that wasn't the case there in map 1, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options here. We might see the Mantis, we might see the Vanpool, which I don't think got as much value as we maybe would have thought on the last go around, but I think it's difficult to run Vanpool into strategies that don't necessarily need to aim to heal. I think, obviously Invis is a good target, but does have that self-shield and invisibility to try to stay healthy as long as possible. But Rocket, just keeping those right clicks out can stay healthy, and you dance with your Invis in the backline. But if it's opposed to something like a Luna, where even if one of those, shots misses, you're taking extra damage, it really does play better into that. So maybe that's the case as to why they don't, they maybe won't ban it out here.
Well, looks like the bans are back under the way. The pause has continued, so I'll allow you two fine gentlemen to continue your casting.
Thank you, Fine Gaskin. Oh my goodness. The Vanpool comes out and gets protected and banned, so they do get that one-sided focus towards the Vanguards. Then the Star-Lord sort of mismatch comes through on the opposite side. But I like what you pointed out, Shib, earlier, I think, is the Mantis stuff. I mean, I think it's interesting because it's like you said, like Gale obviously has a very good Mantis. I think a lot of these players have a good Mantis in general because it's kind of relatively easy hero to play sometimes, but it's very team-oriented, I guess, right? Because that was my worry when we saw Bedtime Story on the Psylocke and stuff. Like, it just feels like it's missing that Mantis. It's missing Gale on the Mantis, for example, but it's just something ain't clicking, I guess, with that specific composition that is available because it's, like you said, it's so strong. But I guess if your teams can't play it, I mean, you can't force it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something I don't think we're going to see a ton with the top sides of the bracket in terms of placement and seeding. If you allow Mantis and Ultron through, I think that comp is super viable and strong right now. I'm surprised that is the case, but you're right. I guess they're just not as confident on it, and that's totally okay. It's very much, a team-based hero shooter where there are plenty of compositions that can absolutely work, and the comp here is going to be running this gambit and very much trying to pocket the Star-Lord for the side of TSM, where Nightmare, we're going to see what they elect to run. I don't think Vision, was going to stay on the Iron Man there. Something a little more traditional with the flank from Light, and Monster is going to be looking for the backline flank with Light on the Vanpool.
I mean, they switched it up, put Visions back on the Phoenix. We've seen a lot more Phoenix as of this last week, but on Central Park, it's up to TSM, right? Tournament hopes in the line here, Shib, and they're on defense first. Nightmare going to be on attack, so TSM feeling more confident in their defensive push and hold, where Gilbert Noodle is going to be on that cap for the first time this series.
And let the games begin. Right on top of Skiers in a dangerous spot. Great damage there. Not going to be enough to get the KO, though. Looking backwards towards Monster, who was trying to apply some pressure on the back line. Light holding the height here. I will not be surprised if he decides to flank around and go into that strategist doorway. Very much where strategists like to run to, but it's kind of simple to understand where they're going to be and where they'll retreat to at all times. Gale in a dangerous spot goes down quickly. Gilbert Noodle trying to stall for a bit, but goodbye Gale from the side of Light. Now looking upward towards that cap, who's just trying to stall and doing just that, distracting. BTS in a bad spot as now goes down from Light. Guru able to trade one on a maze through the chaos, but the number's still up here once more for Nightmare. I believe a portal play already needs to be committed, and he talked about pulling out, maybe the Namor, and that is going to be the case.
Okay, good. I was going to say, I am just done seeing Gale on Hulk. I got to be honest. He's a good Hulk player, don't get me wrong, but this team is not working around it. Nightmare obviously have a prepared game plan around the Hulk. Everybody's focusing on him. The rest of the team is forced away. And, yeah, just stop playing the Hulk, please. We're going back over to TSM with Guru onto the Emma, and this feels a little bit better for TSM off the rip. And I like that mismatch, too. I like BTS versus Light in the sidelock duel. I would somewhat favor BTS into that. Now, for Nightmare, I think their team plays a little bit better. I think Visions on the Phoenix is always going to be gross and very difficult to deal with. But like you said, Shib, I like Gale also going over to the Namor in this upcoming fight. With TSM, though, they still have a 4-minute hold they have to do in second phase now as an early invis boundaries pop.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. It looks like TSM's playing a little bit nervous here. They're trying to take that early point to get on top of point, by where it initially begins, and it's already free pushing right past them. They've essentially switched spawns without having control of point. And Mace is going to find a 3-piece, make it a quadra here. Are you joking? Nightmare looks refreshed, and TSM is kind of on their heels. They've got to bounce back and figure this out because Nightmare looks unstoppable right now.
Yeah, they used Invis in a lost team fight. At least they used the Ensong Inferno, so we can use Gilbert Noodle's ult as another strategist ultimate just to help delay after the Raging Royal Flush is popped. They had 0.9 meters left to go. Light commits to Psylocke, dances the butterflies against that strat ultimate, so they get an extra out, although BTS is down.
Yeah, number comes through his Vision's able to take out Gale right now. Looking for more here as they do have priority on point. Out goes a Raging Royal Flush to the side of Nightmare. Vision able to find Pizza. And once again, I believe Nightmare is going to push this thing through quickly. I'm not sure a portal play can be committed. It cannot. Are you kidding? Look at the time on the clock. 5 minutes here for point 3. Wow, Nightmare.
Yeah, Nightmare is just shredding through this map at the current moment. TSM grasping at straws right now. They just need to find some form of life. I mean, Gale's going over to the Star-Lord now. He was off of the Namor, and then BTS still onto the Psylocke. I would maybe expect BTS to be on the Psylocke instead, onto the Star-Lord instead. But regardless, they need to win at least a fight here. Monster already starts off this fight early with that Deadpool ultimate.
Gale able to find Light right now, and that's going to be 1 as Vision's able to take out Bedtime Story and even the numbers just a little bit. Gale has that Legend available as Monster falls, gets a 2-piece, but already the point at the staircase with 4 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock. Vision on a height trying to hold, but that's still at this point a slight alt advantage here for TSM, but it's looking like Nightmare just has to wait a few fights and then they can heavily press Q and walk this thing through.
Yeah, they trade out Light at the very least. I would like to see even BTS switch to the Phoenix maybe or whatever, but he comes over, follow through on divisions. Maybe these fights stringing together will be good, but again, they trade in a pretty heavy advantage. Again, they lose 2.
Yeah, I honestly, this Emma pick here from Ace has looked really good. It's really shutting down a lot of this more brawly dive stuff. This Cap is struggling. I think Emma does a really good job at marking Cap and can help that backline when if they're ever stressed. But right now, it doesn't look like they are too much as BTS is able to find 1 there. There goes that Galactic Legend. It's not combined at the moment as Cal does not have the Raging Royal Flush available. It's not necessarily needed to be the case as Gilbert dives in and finds Dinks, and that's a great initiation there. Now Guru makes the switch over to Emma to match it. I like this decision as Guru finds 1. They needed to change this comp up. They're doing just that. Sometimes it looks like a bit of panic when they're switching this much, but sometimes it just is trying to find the right solution.
Yeah, good fight so far out of TSM. I mean, they just keep catching Light out. That was the second time in a row they found Light first pick. So either somebody has to help Light take these off angles, and it looks like Monster's going to do it this time around. But we just got to stop getting picked off in the middle of, really before fights even begin.
Couple minutes have been taken off the clock here. The cart is still sitting here on the stairs. And again, that's actually Ratatasker, the god of squirrels, for those who maybe are wondering what that is. But we see Vision with a nice stun, able to find BTS. And we heard yesterday in some of the interviews that right click on Phoenix is pretty much your sole job. Landing that stun gives so much value. Gale in a bad spot there, very low on HP, able to escape for a moment. Light gonna commit here and be, yeah, wow, finds two off the back of a huge ultimate. The Psionic making a third coming in from Vision and a fourth now as the fifth goes down. And NTMR is now walking with 2 minutes and 20 to the very end of this map. TSM does have Cal and Gilbert though.
I mean, if NTMR is smart, I think they even go for like some early pressure to force out a strat ult or something, or even try to get ults in the spawn, but they give TSM space. And I think that's a bit of a mistake. Now they come out with the dance floor a bit late, met by an Ensong Inferno to help peel as well.
Light in a very dangerous spot, falls there from a nice shield toss from Gilbert Noodle. And that is going to be a pick from Cal and Gilbert once more. Vision finding Pizza. The ult advantage there for TSM did work out as the reset comes through and Dinks jumps off map for another fight. Coming up, TSM does hold on to BTS Gilbert in that fight, and that is some good patience, which puts them at an ult advantage in these next fights.
Yeah, sadly for NTMR, I mean, they use a lot of ults, but not more importantly, they give space to TSM to walk out of spawn as they now group up together as a cohesive unit. So realistically, they needed to get a little bit more aggressive, maybe pull, you know, a page out of yeah, we lost, but go for that spawn camp trap. But TSM have ultimates here. 1 minute and 22 seconds left to go, Shib, and they have ults too on the defense.
Yeah, I think a dance of the butterfly at the spawn door there would have been super valuable, just to force them to use something, or at least buy time for the cart to move forward just a little bit more, as Gale's able to find one. Cal onto Light for two. Gilbert says 3 in bedtime, gonna find 4 and 5, and the confidence is coming back here for TSM, who has not needed to commit an ultimate in quite some time. Gale, barring Gale in that, with the Galactic Legend, but still up heavily in ult advantage with 50 seconds on. This is quite the hold here from TSM.
I like this. TSM maybe changing pace on the high. Go for that dance of the butterflies early. You have to get follow-up now here at the choke, though. Vision's getting the hard pocket. Everybody tried to come over here, but they didn't get anything else out. Nobody else was ready for that dive. Maybe if Gale was more in position, they could have gotten some ults out or KOs. But it's a good job of NTMR to bounce that back and forth and play safe to keep the invisible boundary for this upcoming fight.
Looking for the first initial pick here. If you can find one in the neutral, put your team at a heavy advantage. TSM holding on to Gilbert with that freedom charge is also a great ultimate for this situation. Monster on the back line forces out one as Pizza needs to use that boundary. Cal able to find Light, though, in the mix of this Venn diagram that is boundaries is very valuable here for TSM. As we are heading to an overtime situation, Gale finds another on a Monster. Will TSM be able to hold this 5-minute clutch? They are stepping back into their shoes, but Skier takes out BTS, a number back in their favor. Pizza with some insane damage off the back of the front line. Pizza finds one on a Mace. Gilbert onto Dig. Scale onto Vision. The portal needs to come through. Will it get here in time? I'm not sure it will. It does not. What a hold by TSM.
Yeah, excellent hold by them for sure. Both teams to me right now, Shib, look like they're a little bit slow in terms of making maneuvers first. Like the best teams we've seen so far throughout the tournament have been decisive, really fast with their movements. Both teams, you can see, are a little bit of a step behind those other squads. Now, for NTMR, realistically, that was almost good. It was just so many times we saw Monster on those, like, at least at the end, the very super long flank, and even before, an excellent switch up for TSM was to focus him, right? Like, they would get out that taunt early, they get Monster's E out, and you hear a lot of these pros talk about how Deadpool is super easy to KO after he uses that cooldown, right? So with that, they've just found Monster every single fight, and he just had a rough performance after third phase.
Yeah, it's surprising to see how valuable some of this just backline peel has been. I mean, I feel like Vanpool has kind of been known as just like the leader of the backline, but they're doing a really good job playing off each other and not worrying too much, always having an answer when need be, I would say. But TSM, I mean, honestly, from what I'm seeing from both these teams is they just started off with just a ton of nerves. I think NTMR looked more confident off the rip, obviously. TSM has not quite looked like themselves until that final point. They started to figure things out. I like this switch in comp as they're keeping it more consistent right now. I think Cal did a good job there in the back line. Guru's switch was very valuable. We saw some picks there from Pizza even on that invis, which was solid. Didn't go down one time to some of those ults from the side of Vanpool. They're locking back in, but can NTMR shut this down and end the hopes and dreams of TSM fans, or will TSM bounce back in like it to start off on the Spidey?
Yeah, I like it. We'll see how it goes throughout. But it is a very difference of opinion, too. Like, I bet you TSM's, you know, a lot of their vocalization, a lot of their leaders comes from their back line too, with now Cal joined the team, and it's kind of the opposite for Nightmare with Mace on that front line. But while they set up at that choke point, maybe make sure TSM doesn't get through easily. They're already getting pressured into this back room. Excellent job to disengage it and bunker up for the strategist, though.
Wow, that was disgusting by Vision, able to find BTS in the air like that with one clean combination. Vision's aim next to none here, as we are going to see Monster chasing Gilbert on the high side. Not going to have any answers, and does go down. Monster finding one, but Guru also finding Light in the chaos. Very low shield here for Monster, who's going to commit towards that backline. Gale is on the off angle, but Vision has caught that off angle and is trying to hit the delete button and does just that. Vision, once again, looking good.
Yeah, he makes it look easy, you know, plays it slow on the inside, finds the right target to focus, and they're finding these daggers. Pete's on the left side, nice job, though, to get out with 1 HP. Regardless, target focus by TSM. They're still kind of in this fight, building straddles early. But Nightmare, I mean, they're coming up on their own. Invisible Boundary available. They could get a good fight early before TSM have straddles. Here.
I was gonna say that corner that they were holding Pizza and Cal there, they stayed healthy for a very long time. I was surprised to see that. Great patty caking, but Light able to find a window right there and take out Cal in the back line, as Mace is able to take out BTS, and TSM are struggling right now on this attack. Good maneuvering here by Nightmare. Gale, though, does get a trade onto Light, trying to even the numbers just a little bit. And the strats are back, and there's the commitment. Out goes the Raging Royal Flush. It's going to be matched right back. Who gets more value? The first pick is very valuable, as Mace is holding on to this Meteor Rem. Shields go up into the sky, looking towards the back line. Who will be the first to go down? No one quite yet, as everybody's just dancing. Out goes the Boundary. TSM, now still holding on with ult advantage, gets a huge pick, actually on the side of Vision into Cal throughout the chaos.
Yeah, this keeps happening, though, in this right side angle. BTS keeps 1v1ing Visions and getting absolutely duped, like, just absolutely just smoked. Like, it's just not even fair. Like, in the meantime, though, opposite side of the map, you do have Gale's ultimate committed. Follow up there by Gilbert, so they leave BTS behind and are already 2 ticks on.
Oh my goodness, and you talk about a delete button. That combination right there was obscene from the side of Monster, who's going to head back to the point and stay healthy. But oh no, they didn't touch, as TSM takes that for free. That was a miscommunication jumping off point in that moment, as the team did not engage enough. And that is all comms based right there. You know, not necessarily well done by TSM. I like what they were doing, but just a huge miss there from Nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, it's not on Monster, I think, because he has to go back into spawn to get healthy. I think that makes sense. Maybe it's on someone else to touch, for sure. 3 minutes and 30 seconds left to go ship. This is almost as good as the second phase was for Nightmare's attack. Obviously, a lot more time in the bank, but 3 minutes and 30 is not a small amount of time. Regardless, we need to see Nightmare maybe find picks in the back line again. I mean, they've been doing it so far, following up on Light.
Light able to find Pizza and just doing a consistent job of being annoying to that backline as Spider-Man does, but Cal makes him pay for it. Is able to find one as Vision takes out BTS once again. That trade there, Vision has been dominating that back and forth right now. Guru still holding the front line, but they are going to have to drop back as a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice job to at least focus on Visions, but the big thing with Visions is not finding these KOs necessarily. It's just living. He's able to dash back, get some heals from his strategist. Now on this upcoming fight, though, we do have Feast of the Abyss. They want to go aggressive on the backline right now. Die for TSM. Nightmare will need to outlive that.
And here goes the engagement once more. BTS saw the Psylocke play coming in from the side of Vision, tries to mark it, but lost in the chaos. Out goes the Raging Royal Flush. Can they get value out of this? Oh, Mace in a very tough spot. When the laser's charged up like this, able to find one, make it 2, as Gale gets the 3rd. There's going to be a 4th from BTS, and the cart is moving. And now TSM is making this look like a game, folks, as they're pressing through towards point 2.
Well, think about switching off of stuff here. They're going to go through the choke point, but it's into strat ults, or sorry, duelist ults immediately, probably. They do commit that Gambit ultimate at the very least on the inside, but can they find the KOs? Vision's 9 HP does commit the ultimate, actually gets the KO.
Wow. Yeah, and just good patience there. Skier does not have to commit the boundary, so does have an answer for Gale and Guru here. The best case scenario here for the side of TSM is somehow Guru's able to trance Skier prior to that ultimate getting committed, while Gale uses that Galactic Legend to find a few picks. 2 minutes on, though, is plenty of time, but Nightmare with a great retouch there.
Yeah, excellent for sure. Visions to read that on the right side, too, to go aggressive before TSM do. But let's see if they don't get caught on the open here. Mace doesn't have the Meteor M for Gale on this defensive hold. They do have straddles to counter it, but are they grouped up together? Cooldowns used. They go for the far flank shift. This is a very interesting approach to it, but let's see if it takes too long and if it's too telegraphed out of TSM.
Monster holding on to the Freedom Charge here with the Invisible Boundary available too. Out goes that Sonic Seduction from Guru. Not sure it lands too much value in that moment. Good movement there by Nightmare to stay away. but there is going to be the Galactic Legend commitment from Gale. Pizza Demon does have that boundary available to match it, and it is going to be a little bit better, which just means a little bit later, so it will last quite a little bit longer as we see another pick come through. Oh, the chance at a pick. It doesn't actually land with a huge freedom charge to stall. Skier onto Pizza, Light onto Cal, and Nightmare once again popping off in these fights, and it's a 1-minute situation.
Well, this is kind of something you see out of a lot of teams that don't really know what they're doing. Like TSM goes for that far right flank. For what reason? What was the purpose of that? They took time off the bank. If they had like a set strat, if they had a set play, I understand it. But doing a flank just for the sake of doing it is never worth it. You have to set something up. Unfortunately for them, they didn't. They popped Gale's ultimate. At least you get ult out with Monster and Skier. But they really need to win this wing fight. Maybe get somebody caught out here aggressive forward.
Yeah, TSM is just playing comfort picks, Nightmare, and it seems to be working out for them as we see a ton of commitment here. BTS starting off, able to find one, Dinks in a bad spot, and is going to be found there from BTS, heading back towards the point, up 2 now. Light driving backwards, able to get that health pack. They're going to not elect to fight that quite yet, as the re-engage from Monster and Light will come in at the same time, but Light has the spectacular spin available, folks. Keep your eyes on the back line. Can they stay healthy through the chaos here? Light gets picked off from 4, though, which is massive, as Cal gets Monster 2 numbers up now, and they are going to give them this point as TSM is making this a final fight situation as we got a minute 20 available.
Yeah, I mean, Nightmare seemed like the better team, right? But towards the end, TSM pushed it in towards the cart, weren't set up for that dive with the Spider-Man. Regardless, it almost feels like Nightmare at points are clutching defeat out of the jaws of victory. And with a minute left, they still can do it, right? They can still get the hold, but TSM, are they given the space to set up Gilbert Noodle's Feast of the Abyss?
That's a huge pick there from Mace, switching over, obviously, to try to counter Gale here, that Galactic Legend with the Meteor M. Saw that earlier on in point 1, and Skier able to take out Cal. Try to trade this just a little bit, even numbers, both of which going to be the Gambit. Mace again onto BTS, some good aim here. Trying to find another to make it a little more of a fight as the cart is pushing forward, heading towards those staircases.
Yeah, how do they set up this upcoming fight, right? Do they want to overcommit? If 35 seconds left to go, if they time this perfectly, Shiv, this could be super awkward for TSM. See how aggressive they go because of all the ults. Guru immediately pops it off with the MO early, but will he find anything off it just from some stall, just to buy some space in the card, it looks like?
Yeah, not sure it was enough value there. As I do like seeing some of that ult, sometimes countering Gambit, as everybody will be charging at you, so you can use that, psionic there. As BTS is able to find Dinks, though, out goes the boundary, and Pizza pays for it. That is huge as Skier takes out Guru. 4 seconds on. The clutch needs to happen here for TSM. Nightmare up in advantage, finds another and another, making a third here. Nightmare trying to take this home and make sure that their best chance to move forward in this preseason. Guru with the portal. Will it come in time? It does not. Nightmare take home the W.
Oh my God. That's insane, Shiv. Well, first of all, for Nightmare to get it done, they win it 2-0. Huge congrats to them. But now, that makes the game later on today super interesting with Lunex, right?
Sheesh.
Like, this is the most interesting outcome I think we could have had, and well-deserved MVP for Visions. I think it's been this way throughout the tournament, and it's definitely point proven. I think he's lived so much and done so much for this squad, but a 2-0 over TSM is huge.
Yeah, I mean, this team, it's, TSM, shout out TSM, unfortunately not going to be able to make it forward in this preseason. We will be seeing them again, a team with a ton of fans, just a little bit on their heels today. Started to look like themselves there on map 2, at least towards the end, especially on point 3, but not quite enough. As shout out to Nightmare, who looked refreshed today, looked like a more confident team. A ton of success from Vision with 20 finals. Looking at those stats, I mean, wow. Gaskin, what'd you think of that?
Unbelievable. How on earth have Nightmare pulled that off? Especially considering they're 0-4. They were 0-4. You would have thought they were dead for rights. And somehow they've pulled off this victory to give themselves a chance of still progressing through to playoffs. And I tell you what, Lunex will be happy as well, because it does give Lunex the opportunity later against SSG. But as you've already alluded to, sadly, that will be the end of the road for TSM, because even if it went down to tiebreakers, their map records are just not good enough against the two teams that they would be tied with. So, Nightmare, get the job done, boys. I mean, initial thoughts, Shib. Coming into this, we knew that Nightmare were good enough in domination, but we didn't know how it was going to go once we moved into Convoy and Convergence. What did you learn from that map that we just saw? Because it looked like they were a different beast today.
Yeah, I think Nightmare just started playing more comfort picks. They looked like they were just playing heroes that they were more, consistently playing in ladder and had more time on, and they just looked locked in. They looked great on the Emma. We saw Mace popping off the Emma. I like the switch there to try to counteract some of the play from Star-Lord. We looked over there at the Magneto, just finding success with their compositions, and then obviously Vision with 20 finals is absolutely obscene.
And then Dog, I mean, Nightmare, they give themselves the best opportunity. Of course, it isn't guaranteed yet. They're going to be, I'm sure, watching very closely to match 5 later on, biting their nails. But this is going to be a tough one for TSM, of course. They're like eliminating another team essentially here. Where do they go from here? How do they progress in terms of when we get into the main season?
I mean, there's a lot they need to work on. I think that last game I would kind of not pay attention to as a TSM fan a little bit, just because of the fact that, I mean, there was a lot of things that just looked disconnected, primarily BTS and his front line. I mean, it's been like this whole tournament, and a lot of that is meta-dependent. So, like, at least they could look at it that way, where, maybe this patch just wasn't theirs. There's a lot of that sort of they can maybe double down on if they want to. But you probably got to pick and choose between Gale and BTS moving forward. I think they're both great players, but one of them, they kind of fill the same role almost. It just feels awkward to have these two players that feel very similar, like, characters, and I think that they just need to pick up another, like, dive player, maybe a Jitward type character who could play a lot of these melee characters. I would love that out of TSM moving forward, and I think that would really improve them by a decent margin.
And Shib, I mean, you were mentioning how good Nightmare were, and we get a chance to now chat to one of the Nightmare players right here, right now. And I think we've all been waiting for it. It is going to be an interview with Mace. Mace, I'm sure you've got me now. How are you feeling about that victory? I'm sure you are on top of the world right now.
I'm feeling good. What's up, Dogman? How you doing?
Oh, I'm great, Mace.
I'll play security guard. I'll play security. Don't worry. Just before I let you and Dogman, before you guys go at it, you are going to be a big SSG fan going into the rest of the day, I'm sure, because I'm sure you've worked it out yourself. If SSG beat Lunex, you guys can still progress. So how are you feeling about just everything at the moment?
I mean, overall, like, obviously it feels good to win for sure, but I think overall, like, going into Ignite, there's been a lot of disappointments, throwing 3 back-to-back 1-0 leads, it does take a little bit of a toll, especially like momentum, wise. We were pretty confident going into this, but heartbreaking loss after heartbreaking loss after heartbreaking loss, it does get to you a little bit. Just still trying to rally the troops, keep the mental high, do the best we can, and just play with what we got. You know what I mean? So I think we did a good job there, showing today that we can keep up. And, if SSG does beat Lunex and we get another chance at playoffs to show that we can change, I would love that.
Yep, you can only play what's in front of you. All right, I'm going to let the dog off the leash now, so I apologize in advance.
What do you mean?
Man, no, just saying. Take it away, bud.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like, Mace has been waiting for this interview, so really, the floor is more. I'm gonna Uno Reverso. It's yours, dude. You got the floor. What do you want to say, Mace? Lay it all out there if you want, dude.
Listen, dog, man. I mean, there's no more beef between us. You backtracked everything on your stream. Like, you apologized. You said, like, I played pretty well. So it's like, I don't know, you kind of diffused the situation before I even got here. Maybe if we had an interview last week, we would have, like, had some, clashing. But, I mean, Dogman backed out, you know what I mean? So it's just, that's where we are. I got to be the bigger man, you know what I mean?
I got nothing to say to that. I don't know what to say. I mean, like, the thing is, like, well, when we watched that back, like, it was... Like, like when we watch these games live action, you're just like, damn, this Mace guy, he's just feeding his ass off. Like, he's just getting in there, And then, like, watch it back, I'm like, okay, wait, he has a point. Like, I think the healing was a bit sus at points, and it wasn't just him overextending. It's just disconnect. And I think more so, can I phrase this on like, to go back towards what you have to say about this? Like, because it's a team game, because, there's, like, a lack of synergy at points, like, how do you fix that? How do you fix, like, these huge holes in a meta that you obviously need to patch up before it's too late? Because, like you guys said, like, on domination, on these map types, you've been good, but there's just that slight disconnect. How do you go about even fixing that stuff when a lot of this comes down to, like, team synergy issues?
I think the biggest problem we've had, like overall, like sure, like maybe one person it plays mechanically bad, oh whatever, right? It's never just one person's fault. I think overall as a team, we've struggled a lot with trust, and I think especially in a game like this, I like even in Overwatch, I think this game requires much more team play and much more trust in your team. And there are just a lot of times and moments where we would lose momentum and stop trusting each other. Especially against, we lost, especially against SSG. You know, there were a lot of times where we just lost trust. And over the last week, that's kind of been our focus of like, okay, trust your teammates, trust them to do their job. Don't make hero plays. Don't, you know, try and 1v6 the enemy team. You know what I mean? We're a team. We're here. Let's just play together and trust each other. You know what I mean? And that's just, you know, we worked a lot on that, and I'm pretty proud of us.
Awesome. First off, what's going on, buddy? It's good to see you. Today, you guys looked incredibly confident. It looked like a totally different team, man. The main question I want to ask you is, what was the game plan and the mentality? Because you guys looked refreshed. You were playing comfort picks. It just seemed like the team that we expected to see.
I mean, going into this, like, our warm-up was, like, quite literally perfect. I pride myself a little bit in that. By banning the Elsa first and giving them Gambit, we knew for a fact that the Gulk was going to come out, the Thing was going to come out, the Tank Pool, like all those characters were going to come out. We even had a warm-up where the exact comp they were on Domination, we prayed it, we practiced it, we warmed up it, and that's why we were so confident, is because we knew exactly what they were going to play. And same thing on Central Park. We knew they were going to go Central Park. We knew they were going to go defense. They do it every time. And when teams are so predictable like that, it's hard to not just plan for already counter swapping them before the game even starts. So I think that was a really big advantage we had today of it's just like prep gap, you know what I mean? Like having that preparation. Obviously, like all of our players played so well today, like genuinely. We had a few hiccups, especially on Central Park, but you know, I think the prep gap on top of having all our players really motivated to win, motivated to play, and trusting each other, that's the team that I want to see. You know what I mean?
Awesome. Thanks for your insight, buddy.
I'm very impressed with how you guys played today with your back against the wall. Now you've got to watch on Lunex versus SSG. Who do you think takes it with an honest thought?
I mean, like going into Ignite, SSG was I love a lot of people on SSG. Going into Ignite, SSG wasn't looking that good. We 5-0'd them many scrims back to back to back. You know, we were pretty confident going into our match with them. I think, like I said, we just lost momentum. But SSG has been looking very strong. Like, all of their officials have been looking very strong. Even against TLC, their first match, I think they looked pretty good. So I'm pretty confident in SSG winning. I mean, I'm not going to count Lunex out. I think Lunex is still a very good team with some good players like Tones and Redis and stuff like that. But only time will tell, and the hate watching begins. You know what I mean?
Yes, it does. Get your SSG jersey on now. Buy the bundle in the Marvel Rifles store.
Buy the SSG bundle. Buy the SSG bundle.
For the interview. Thank you so much, Mace. Congrats, and we'll see whether SSG can get that win for you. Take care, mate. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, well, I mean, we got the Mace and we got the Dogman together, but I have to say you guys were very cordial, and I think he's right. You guys diffused the situation, and at the end of the day, you can only call a spade a spade. Mace played very well today, deserves their victory, and now they have to watch on and hope that Space Station get the win, because by my math, it would mean that Nightmare would go through on map record, which would be pretty insane to go through at 1-4 here, Dogman.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a little insane. And that's what happens when you're given time to chill. You know, like if the interview happened a day ago, you know, maybe that completely changes. Like everything flips on its head. But, you know, if Nightmare gets eliminated early, you know, maybe they're hitting my line to back up their Strategist line after the tournament. Who knows? We'll have to see after this, Gas.
Yes, we will. All right, well, that's going to be our first match concluded here in preseason of Marvel Rivals Ignite. Then we've got 100 Thieves versus Cafe Rose coming up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this break.